want to have anything to do with it. They want to present a different view of man, a man who is merely an animal, an accident of uncontrollable cosmic forces that have no purpose and no end and no transcendent meaning. Well, how does God respond to this? This is how God responds. I think sometimes we take the idea, well, we should be like God. Well, in many ways, that's a true statement. But God sees everything. God has perfect knowledge of the thoughts and intentions of men's hearts. Keep that in mind, because it says, he who sits in the heavens laughs, the Lord scoffs at them. So I think the first thing we have to take from that is that God does not feel threatened by the combining of the kings and the rulers in the seeking to throw off his kingly control. I think sometimes we go, well, I need to laugh at these things. I need to scoff at these things. Well, in some ways, the foolishness of man needs to be laughed at and scoffed at. But that's not what this is about. And I wouldn't derive that from this text. What it is that he who sits in the heavens laughs. Because you see, those upon earth have no authority in that realm. They don't seem to understand that true authority is delegated in the way that God has created this universe to exist. Is it any wonder then why you have the motto coming out of the 1960s and 70s in the musical form, only sky above? There's no heaven. There's no God. There's no rulership. There's no authority. It's just an ever-thinning atmosphere out into nothingness, out into a place where if we're not protected, we will immediately die of the lack of oxygen, pressure, or all the lethal radiation. One way or the other, it's going to get us. And for the naturalist and materialist, it's all out there. There's nothing above us. And so he who sits in the heavens laughs, he scoffs at them, because he realizes just it's the foolishness. Why is the scientist concerned if, well, I raised 35,000 Drosophila melanogaster fruit flies my senior year in college, and doing genetic experiments with them. And it would be like if I looked through that microscope and I saw a fruit fly that was angry at me for having done experiments on him. Not much the fruit fly can do about that. Not much at all. We don't like that unless we desire to be submitted to him who sits upon the throne. And so God says that he will speak them in his anger and terrify them in his fury. He will make known his truth. He has established the kingdom of the Messiah. He gives the nations, even though they may be in rebellion, they're given as an inheritance, and they will come. And verse 9 says, you shall break them with a rod of iron, you shall shatter them like earthenware. Here you have the same Jesus of the first few chapters of Revelation, seen in his power, ruling. He has authority. And so in light of that, now therefore, O kings, show discernment, show some thought. Show that you're thinking some things through. Take warning, O judges of the earth. Judges of the earth. Wow. I'm glad they're addressed. Take warning, O judges of the earth. Worship Yahweh with reverence and rejoice with trembling. Do homage to the Son. Do homage to the Son, that he not become angry and you perish in the way. For his wrath may soon be kindled. How blessed are all who take refuge in him. Did you catch that? So many times that I think one of the problems in reaching out to the Muslim world is that very often the Jesus that's been presented to them is the long-haired hippie Jesus from the 1960s who's carrying around a lamb and wearing Birkenstocks. And when you present the Jesus of the Bible, who has a rod of iron and rules the nations and is their Lord and their Maker, that provides the proper biblical basis for understanding the depth of his love and his mercy and his grace. But if you don't have a balance then you just get a bunch of sticky sentimentality. Do homage to the Son. This is addressed to the judges of the earth. Do homage to the Son, that he not become angry and you perish in the way, for his wrath may soon be kindled. There are many judges today that think that they are the highest authority in all of mankind. And a wise judge, take warning, O judges of the earth, worship Yahweh with reverence and rejoice with trembling. Do homage to the Son, that he not become angry and you perish in the way. Boy, those are words that need to be heard. Those are words that need to be heard. I wonder how long it's going to be before, if you say that, you will be accused of hate crimes. It's interesting, for his wrath may soon be kindled. How blessed are all who take refuge in him. One God, if you're in rebellion against him, is anger. But if you seek to take refuge in him, a repentant heart, broken heart, worshipful heart, blessing, refuge. Not two different gods, one God. So, it just strikes me that almost every phrase in this particular psalm could be unpacked appropriately when God's people are observing a conspiracy of the rebellious who want to join together to throw off the yoke and the fetters of the only worldview that actually answers to man's experience, which is the worldview of Scripture, based upon God's revelation. It gives us tremendous insight, and it gives us encouragement. We have a message: be warned, the wrath of the Son, but also encourages us. God is not concerned. He's still upon his throne. And we, therefore, can take refuge in him.